Hey everybody. This theory is built upon my previous Hopper's delusional theory, so I recommend watching that video before or after this video because, they play better together. The primary basis for this theory is a similarity between the timelines of two different characters, Jim Hopper and Terry Ives. Now let's start with the timeline of Terry Ives. We know that Jane has been missing for 12 years.
12 years. 12 years she's been looking for her.
We know that Terry stopped speaking 5 years ago.
I don't want Terry to tell you anything. You're about 5 years too late.
12 minus 5 equals 7. Now let's examine the timeline of Jim Hopper.
Even after everything that happened, I don't regret any of it. And those 7 years, they were everything to me.
Joyce, this is Hawkins, okay? You wanna know the worst thing that's ever happened here in the 4 years I've been working here? Do you wanna know the worst thing?
Okay, so now we have 7 plus 4 equals 11. But no, wait, that doesn't quite add up. No, let's think back to what Becky Ives said.
I don't want Terry to tell you anything. You're about 5 years too late.
About 5 years? Meaning 4, not quite 5. 7 plus 4, these numbers are exactly the same. Why are these numbers, these timelines, exactly the same? Now, we really don't know for certain if there was any extended time between Hopper's 7 years with his daughter and the 4 years he's been chief of police in Hawkins, but even if he took time to grieve, left the city and came back to his old hometown, he'd still have, 10, 11 months to get his current job in Hawkins before he'd have to say he's been chief of police for 5 years. Now, if you really want to split hairs, we can't know the exact amount of time in both timelines, but the fact that these two timelines are so similar already leads me to believe it's more likely than not that the additional month totals in both cases total up to the exact same amount of time, bringing both timelines up to a full 12-year span. In other words, I find it pretty safe to say that the number of months over 4 years that Terry hasn't been speaking is the same number of months that it took Hopper to get his life together and take the job in Hawkins. Ultimately, I don't see this as a coincidence. Why would the writers have these timelines be essentially the same? We are led to believe that 11 is actually Jane, Terry's daughter. Now, many have suggested that 11 is actually Sarah, Hopper's daughter. Either they wanted both possibilities to be possible, or these timelines are the same because they are the same timeline. I believe that 11 is both Terry's daughter and Hopper's daughter, both Jane and Sarah. They are one and the same. Now, why do I think 11 is both Jane and Sarah? Why can't she be one or the other? What evidence is there to suggest that Hopper and Terry ever had a previous relationship together?
You and Terry would have gotten along. The man with a big capital M.
Yeah, but that could have been covered up. Right?
Well, like I said, you and Terry would have gotten along.
Why do the writers keep bringing our focus to the fact that Jim and Terry would have gotten along? What does this have to do with anything? That's 2 times that Becky mentions this notion. And I would have let 1 mention slide, but 2? This means something. It could just be foreshadowing a future relationship between previously unattached characters. Perhaps when all is said and done, Terry will get Jane back and Hopper will become her stepfather, helping to fill a void left by his own daughter's death and also give Jane a loving father figure. This would actually be pretty nice, but let's consider the alternative for a second. Terry, unable to speak, wouldn't be able to reveal that she recognizes Hopper. And if Hopper is actually delusional, his mind could have completely replaced Terry with the woman we see in his flashbacks, Diane Hopper, replacing her with a woman who was coping with loss well and moving past it, driving Hopper to do the same. It's also possible that Terry's bleak mental state could have driven Hopper to leave her after their daughter was taken. Now, if this is true, it means that Becky's story can't be entirely accurate, which raises the question of whether she is actually Terry's sister at all. Now, many have suggested that she could be a plant from Hawkins Labs just to keep an eye on Terry, which would also explain why she wouldn't have recognized Hopper if Terry had a previous relationship with him, because she's not actually her sister. Now, remember, it was Becky who tells Hopper that Terry miscarried, leading everyone to believe that 11 was taken at birth. Becky could have staged Jane's room to look like it was still a baby's room to go along with her story. If Elle was taken at 7 years old, it explains why Terry had a full playset outside her home when Hopper drives up, which was possibly even the site of her abduction. But if she was taken when she was 7 years old, it would really explain why it took Terry 7 years to stop speaking, because the problem did not begin until that 7-year mark. This also explains why Terry knew about Jane's abilities, something that would be hard to know if she was taken at birth. Also, if 11 was taken when she was 7, she would have some memory of what her father looks like, right? Surely she would recognize Hopper, unless she'd become so traumatized that her memories lost clarity. But, maybe Hopper used to be clean-shaven at that time. But I do like how the camera lingers on both Hopper and 11 in this moment. It's like they're sizing each other up, or trying to tap into some long-lost memory, like, do I know you from somewhere? Like one of those, but they're not speaking, there's no reason for the camera to stay on them while there are other people talking. How incredible would it be if these two lost souls were this close to each other and didn't even know it? I mean, that appears to be the case. If nothing else, it really seems like the Duffer Brothers wanted to draw a parallel between 11 and Sarah. No one else thought it was weird that both girls are dressed in very similar ways? Blue coat, dress, tall socks, blonde hair. And it makes me wonder what Hopper's reaction would have been had he seen 11 in the blonde wig. Now, based on what we've seen, this isn't possible, right? I never believed that 11 could be Hopper's daughter, because we see Hopper's daughter as blonde. Even if Hawkins' lab somehow faked Sarah's death, there is no way they would keep dyeing her hair brown to hide her identity, because the public never sees her anyway. Although in my research I found that many kids are born with blonde hair that naturally shifts to brown after age 6 or 7, usually becoming dark brown by their 10th birthday. For me, the final piece of evidence for this theory is that Hopper leaves Eggos in the woods. Now, we are meant to think that Hopper left these Eggos for 11, but at no time in the show was Hopper ever shown learning about 11's love of Eggos. Hopper had no compassion for 11. She was a freak to him, one that he was willing to sell out for Will. So it seems incredibly unlikely that Hopper is leaving these Eggos for 11. But maybe he's leaving them for Sarah, who most likely grew up loving Eggos. I mean, it's Christmas time. It could be a regular Christmas tradition to leave things for her. It's not like he left it on her grave, though, so it makes me kind of doubt that she's actually dead, but, who knows. Although, a police report was probably filed after 11 stole Eggos from the grocery store, so, Hopper is chief of police. He probably found out about that, so who knows. I mean, that could be how he knows about the Eggos. But I still don't believe he would do this gesture for 11. Well, that concludes the theory. It isn't perfect, but I think it's very compelling. I mean, the fact that the timelines are the same, the fact that the camera focuses on Hopper and 11 sizing each other up, I mean, there's something to this theory. I realize the delusional Hopper part of the theory may be a little difficult to accept, but it's also possible that Sarah and Diane are real, and Hopper and Terry were having an affair leading to a different daughter, Jane. There's something tying these two people together specifically. Why does Becky keep bringing up the idea that Terry and Hopper would have gotten along? If she is actually Terry's sister, she might not have known about Hopper if they were having an affair. So what do you think of this theory? What do you make of the similarities between the two timelines? Do you think it's possible that Terry and Hopper had a previous relationship? Do you think it's possible that 11 could be both Sarah and Jane? And if not, who is she? Is she Jane or Sarah? Or is she neither? I think if nothing else, she basically has to be Terry's daughter. You think Terry just had a random delusion about having a superpowered daughter, and there's some random superpowered daughter out there that's just totally unrelated? Let me know in the comments below, and hit me up on Twitter at Planet Calvin. Let me know what you think. I'm really interested. Be sure to subscribe for more content like this, and thanks for watching.